Good morning. My name is Lauren Van Meter. I'm the Executive Director at Safe and Hunterdon. With me, as always, is our Prevention and Outreach Coordinator, Gillian. And today we do have a special guest. We have a member of our team task force, Maria, to kind of help us get some fresh perspective while we discuss teen dating violence and our education programs and outreach in high schools. So good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Hi.
Gilly, can you tell us a little bit about what the prevention program that you bring to schools looks like? How long does it run? What kind of activities you guys do?
Sure. We do actually a couple of programs. We do a consent program. We also do a teen dating violence program. Um, the teen dating violence program is a more extensive program. So we just come in and we talk about red flags of relationships, green flags of relationships, what teen dating violence looks like, types of abuse. Because typically when you talk to a lot of people, not even just teenagers, but a lot of people, when you say abuse, they immediately think of physical abuse. They immediately think of bruises and black eyes and broken bones, and they don't understand that a lot of relationships that are abusive have no physical violence whatsoever. I've heard so many people say, but he doesn't hit me, but she doesn't hit me, but I'm not physically abused, so that's not abuse. So we come in and we just kind of explain that there are many forms of abuse. It's not just physical, it's not just mental, there are many different forms of abuse and what that looks like. And then it's kind of eye-opening for them. Like, no, a lot of people have no idea that financial abuse exists at all, which for a long time I didn't really realize that financial abuse was power and control and how that looked like and how many people are in relationships that have financial abuse. And so it's really eye-opening for the kids to understand that there are so many different ways that they could be in an abusive relationship and that there is help for that they don't have to be physically abused in order to get help. So we go through that, we go through a little presentation, and then we do what's called the In Their Shoes program. And the In Their Shoes program was designed by a mom who lost her daughter to teen dating violence. It's a role-playing strategy where we give kids role-playing cards. So they get a character, and on the back side of that card is the person that character is dating. So you get both of them. And what they do in that program is they walk in the shoes of that person. So there are like 20 different places they're going to go. There's many that they'll be different. It's all color coded. There's different cards. There's home and there's school and there's cell phone and there's many different ways. So they're going to read that card. They're going to read about their character. And at the bottom of that card, it's going to start them off wherever that looks like, whether it's home, and they're going to make the choices in that relationship. So they're going to get to a point where it's like, if you want to talk to your mom, go home. If you want to talk to the school nurse, go to school. So then they pick and choose what path they go down. And every card has two different scenarios. Okay. It has a better ending and a not so good ending. So I do it in usually groups of 3 or 4, and I like to give the kids, make sure that there's at least 2 cards out to see how those kids in different groups end up. It's a phenomenal program. I can give a presentation all day long. Kids are like, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's just another person taking up my time.
Right.
This program, kids remember. Mm-hmm. They remember it. They talk about it. I'll see them a year later. And they're like, I remember you. I had Ashley, and we got her out of that relationship. And you'll hear them start talking. They're in their group, and they're going, we have to break up with him. We can't stay with her. Did you see what they did? I've never allowed. And then they start talking to each other about their characters, and they're like appalled at what these people are doing in these relationships. So it really shows them the different ways that abuse can come into a relationship without them even realizing that it's happening. So an absolutely phenomenal program. We have it for the teenagers. We also have an adult program of the In Their Shoes that we can use. So that is one of my favorite programs to bring in.
I love that. Maria, your experience in high schools with what Gilly said, as far as, students not thinking that, anything that doesn't involve physical violence is abusive. Do you find that to be true? Is that kind of the attitude of teenagers that haven't gone through an education program?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like people, like, even if, like, a girl's just, like, with a guy who's, like, trying to control what she does or something, like, they think, like, a lot of behaviors and things like that are just, like, seen as normal now. Like, teen relationships are, like, so different, and, like, you can just be walked all over, and, like, it can be abused, but, like, people don't realize that, and, like, we don't know how to, like, fix that. But I feel like Safe and Hunterdon definitely does such a good job of, like, helping kids realize like what really is abuse and how, like, you can use resources to help yourself.
Out of all of the programs and things that Safe and Hunterdon has done, what are some successful takeaways that you've seen? Like, have you had anyone in your friend group realize that there's negative behavior in a relationship? Have you been able to like refer somebody for additional assistance?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like people, like in relationships that are my age, like even just like if they're dating and they're together, they think that like touching that's not like warranted, that's not said yes to is okay. Like people don't like girls just think that oh whatever it's gonna happen anyways. Like, and I think that's like a big part of it.
Like, people are growing up with an idea that having a partner means that they have like agency or ownership over
Yeah.
their body.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's a big part of
Like
the
girls
consent
just
program.
girls just will accept that. Like they
Mhm.
won't. There's no pushback. There's no boundary that like they've realized that they can have.
We hear that a lot with the consent program, as you just said. I hear a lot of, well, that's my boyfriend. Well, that's my
Yeah.
girlfriend. Like, I have to do things like that.
Hmm.
No? And then we go
Right.
through with what consent looks like. Consent is an ongoing, active thing. It's not just, you said yes last Saturday, so that yes lasts for the endurance of your relationship.
Right.
So we show them that, I mean, that's a very, very common thing that we hear all the time. I was in a relationship, or that was my boyfriend, or that was when we were dating, or I agreed to it 2 weeks before prom, and then prom came, so I had to do it even though I didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
So the consent program, which is what we're doing now, because it is prom time, so we usually break that up during, right before the proms happen, is that they understand that no matter what they said, even if they said it 5 seconds ago, if they change your mind, you change your mind. No means no. No is a complete sentence. It doesn't matter what you said, what you promised, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And do you find that a lot of prom brings a lot of additional pressure with just how expensive it is and
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of people that are going to prom feel like they owe their date something. The
Right.
date either paid for dinner or taking them to the beach for the weekend or paid for a limo,
Yeah.
whatever, paid for the prom tickets, whatever that looks like. They feel like there's some sort of debt there
And
because they paid for it.
a big part of it is what happens after prom too, like the houses that are gone to and all of that. No, there's no control. There's no adults. The kids don't know what's okay to do and not okay to do. Like if one person is doing something, everybody in that whole house will follow the same thing. There can be like the two most popular guys and the two most popular girls will say something and start doing something, and then everybody will follow. And like nobody knows how to stop it because there's no person in control that knows what's okay and not okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I feel like a lot of parents in the general community don't realize the spike in calls that Safe and Hunterdon has to the hotline following prom weekend, because it's a really good point. Parents are renting these Airbnbs or VBROs that are being utilized as party houses, and 30, 40, 50, 80 kids end up at the house, and there is no adult supervision. And oftentimes parents are also supplying alcohol with this idea that if kids are going to drink, they would prefer that they drink at the house and not drive, but not thinking about how really truly
How
underdeveloped
yeah.
the adolescent brain is, and how alcohol ends up affecting behavior in
Yeah.
that house. And we also have a educational module on drug facilitated sexual assault, and truly alcohol is the substance or drug most used for sexual assault, which a lot of people also do not realize. And prom weekend tends to be, the days following tend to be exceptionally busy for us. No matter, and we do so much out in the community and talking to kids, but the freedom that prom weekend grants teenagers really does present an opportunity to people that are looking to become offenders.
Mm-hmm. Even outsiders, like people that don't go to the high school, or people that are from other schools, or even people over the age of 21 and up, like they'll come to the house and they'll bring more alcohol and they'll bring other stuff. And like then it just gets even more out of hand, and girls are like, oh well, it's prom weekend, like I have to drink, I have to have fun. Like prom is so built up to be like your first big moment of high school. Like that's like if you're like even a not popular kid, like you can go to a prom party and have fun. Like you can do whatever because you have so much freedom and you can choose whatever you want to do. And then these people are just helping it. They're just supporting it. And parents, like, I feel like parents really don't know what's going on in the houses. Like, they can think that, oh, my kids, yeah, they're probably drinking, they're probably doing some messed up stuff, but they'll be okay. No, no, no. People do crazy things, especially teenagers when they're drinking. Like, no teenagers know how to handle alcohol, period, at all. That's why it's supposed to be over the age of 21. That's why there's so many resources for teenagers who are dealing with that to get help, because it's such a big problem. Like, we don't know how to deal with it at all.
Such a good point. And then we typically pair up with prevention resources when I'm in the schools for, excuse me, for prom. Prevention resources will do a dual presentation. So prevention resources will usually go first, and they talk about drugs and what that looks like, and alcohol and driving under the influence. And then I come in with the consent, and it kind of goes hand in hand. And we hope that we're kind of getting through to them to understand that, you know, if you've had a sip of alcohol, if you've smoked any marijuana, if you're under the influence of anything, you cannot consent. That's one of the big things that I push. It doesn't matter if you've had one beer. It doesn't matter. Maybe you've been awake for 5 days studying.
Yeah.
You're not coherent. You cannot consent. You have to remember that, because that's where people get in trouble.
Yeah. It just alters the state of mind.
And that is an excellent point too that you brought up about people from outside that school community attending parties.
That's a big problem.
I remember social media makes this world a very different world than, you know, the world that parents grew up in. You know, I certainly hosted parties and kids from other schools might show up, but we didn't have kids, you know, from or potential abusers or those looking to sexually assault minors from outside areas able to publicly view a post about our parties.
Right. An address is posted and it's everywhere.
It's everywhere, you know. And I remember my about a year and a half ago, I was chaperoning a birthday party for a 16-year-old girl, and so her sweet 16. And so, of course, her friends are all 15 and 16, and someone who was invited to the party did make an Instagram post with the address, and before I knew it, I walked downstairs and, you know, to do my every 20-minute kind of round, and there were multiple adults there, including I found someone who ended up being 28 years old trying to pour a glass of wine with a bottle that I think he had probably, you know, walked out of his parents' house with at 28 for a 15-year-old girl. So, you know, it was just such a red flag and concern. And of course, we had to immediately end the party and deal with the parents of the child that shared the address. But, you know, kids don't realize the risk that they're even putting their friends at when they share an address like that. Because everybody has this, oh, it's not going to happen to me. We're going to be in a group. We're doing all the things that you're supposed to do to keep yourself safe. You know, there's 20 of us. There's 30 of us. Nothing is going to happen. And we find the very opposite of that to be true.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think that students have an awareness of how to get assistance after a sexual assault takes place?
I think so. I was gonna bring this up, but I think the prom cards that were made were helped a lot, like before going out to prom, because a lot of kids got the bags like at school. I got mine at my hair salon, was giving them out. And like they had these bracelets on them. They were cute. I saw a lot of people wearing them actually. I went to Del Val's prom and a lot of people wearing them. But I think that reading that card like really like gave an insight of like what's okay and what's not okay, because kids are gonna drink, like it's gonna happen. No adult's gonna tell them like something and they're gonna listen, like it's prom night. But I think that like having an understanding of what like this agency can do and like what's okay and what's not okay like helps give them insight.
Is there anything that you think that we could do to sort of expand on how we get information out there? Something beyond the prom cards that you think would be helpful?
Yeah, I feel like partly it could be there's like a connector that's missing. Like kids will hear about like what abuse is and what not abuse is, and then there's safe and Hunterdon, but there's no like connector between that. Like kids can't get themselves out of an abusive relationship just by hearing about safe and Hunterdon. Like I feel like there's a bridge. Like there's a student and there's safe and Hunterdon, and then there's a bridge that's like it's not there. Like kids don't know how to actually reach out and ask for the help because school counselors, really anything, teachers, they don't give that resource. They don't make that an option. They don't deal with it, like really, like they really don't care. And so I feel like kids think the same thing when it's outside of school. Like there's nobody that will really care. Like nobody, they think that they just have to deal with it themselves and then it's okay, but it's not.
Thank you. Also joining us and about to get thrown in the hot seat is Mary Beth, currently with Raritan Learning Cooperative, but she also has been an educator for many years outside of that. And we are talking about domestic violence and sexual assault in the teen population, as well as some things that Safe and Hunterdon is doing as far as outreach, especially this time of year with prom season. Could you talk about some of your observations in your career of, ways that students kind of relate or really don't relate to domestic violence and sexual assault, even as it's happening in front of them?
Yeah, well, I came in the middle of Maria speaking, and that really struck home for me. This idea that there's a gap between, yeah, there's more education, and I've been, taking a role in facilitating some of those sort of training programs in different settings, both in, education and other settings. And that's all great, and it makes a difference. But really, when you're in the experience, how do you know what to do and if something happens, right? Like how do you take action?
How do I get out of the situation?
Yeah, exactly. How do you get out of the situation? How is it not just almost normalized?
Yeah, blown over.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
Do you find that students do tend to wait to report? Because one of the things that we do know, when people are sexually assaulted and they come forward, there is a window for when a sexual assault or rape can be done. And, it's better than it used to be as technology has advanced. We've gone from 5 days to, we've added some time towards the end, but, as people go about their daily lives and shower and the days turn into weeks, the potential for evidence is sometimes lost. Do you find that students wait beyond that kind of a time frame to even make the initial report?
Um, I think that, yeah, I think you're right for sure. Like, girls will have something happen to them, but still need time to analyze it. Like, they're just like, what happened? Like, it's such a blur when something like that happens because I think we're so young that like we can't handle that. Like, there's so much other stress going on in our lives, school, friends, literally everything going on. Like having to think about getting abused like that is so traumatic. Like we don't know how to handle that, so it's just like a period of like self-destruction and like blaming yourself because there's no resource telling you that no, it's not your fault. Like this happened to you, you didn't cause this to happen, but there's nobody telling you that. So girls just think like, oh my god, like this is my fault, I'm gross, I'm disgusting, like I don't mean anything to guys because this happened to me. So like there's nobody telling them that that's not right.
With that kind of a framework, which I think is really typical in how, students, especially female students, approach sexual assault, what kind of programs do schools have in place? I know, of course, what happens when we get referrals, but are guidance counselors trained in how to support students? Or teachers trained?
I
As an educator, what's your experience been?
well, I spent a few years in public school, teaching, and more recently, about 10 years in, it's a nonprofit and very small, and so we get to run things the way we do. And we have reached out to bring outside resources in. Gillian has been in to lead a workshop on, I think, communication and healthy relationships. That I think that's really good. A lot of role playing,
Mhm.
and it. I'll come back to that part of why I think role playing, but just to finish. And then we've also brought in, not, I don't think specifically related to, dating and relationships, but Prevention Resources has some great workshops. We've had them come in to do like drug awareness kind of thing. And I do see a connection between them, because obviously anytime you're under the influence, that's going to impact, your judgment in the situations you might end up in. But the role playing, like Maria was kind of alluding to, you don't know until you're in a situation that something might happen. And then what do you do? Like, how do you have the words? How do you know? Like, even the great, I did come in a little late into the conversation, so I'm not sure exactly what the kind of span of the kinds of dating violence you're talking about. Clearly, rape is the, like you were talking about, evidence and, that kind of thing. But there's a whole range of ways in which our personal space and body can be violated, and it can almost be like, well where do you learn to draw for yourself? Where do you learn to draw the line? So that, and then if you don't think that through in advance, then you're just in this situation, and like what do you do? So I find the role playing, and even for the drug awareness stuff, like the fact that they brought the little goggles that you put on, and it gives you some sense of what it feels to be intoxicated. But
having that like real world
Yeah.
experience in a safe way to experience it.
And I didn't say that in my years of public school teaching, I don't recall specific training, like as a teacher. So I don't know what the training is for the guidance counselors. I myself have facilitated a sexuality education program, but that was outside of the school, and it's a really great program, and covers everything in terms of understanding and caring for your body, and relationships, communication, a lot about consent. I do have to say, I love how much consent is discussed these days, and the awareness and the language that I hear teens have, both in my professional education setting, but also as a parent of a teen girl. Just that, idea of, I didn't consent to that, or you asked me first, and that certainly was not language that I had when I was a kid. So
no,
I think that's progress. But seeking out, if it's not happening in the school, I would encourage parents to find ways, and for teens to have the information and to know they can reach out to Safe and Hunterdon, because I think of domestic violence as, women who are, in a home, home living or a marriage relationship, and it's a lot more than that. And I love that you guys support that, but how do they find their way there? So I don't know. I know Gillian, through your comments, I know you're getting into schools and colleges a lot more. So
a lot of time with the kids.
Yeah. So that's great.
Thank you. And for moving forward, social media can be an extremely negative presence in teenagers' lives, but it can also be perhaps something that is helpful. Do either of you have any ideas on how, as adults and educators, we can kind of structure social media to reach out to more kids, to engage more people where they are, and to encourage them to come forward into services? Should that be something they would find helpful?
Yeah, I think so. I know the Safe and Hunterdon, like the Instagram and the Facebook, like that's good information, but like I feel like if there was more teen focused information, like how we view stuff, like the funny TikToks and stuff. Like obviously it's not gonna be a funny video, but if it was just more built for like teens viewing and attention span, I feel like it would help us like absorb the information better and know that there was someone there. Like if there was, say, like a younger person making, just talking about like this agency and what they do in a video, I think that that would catch a teenager's eye and they would listen. Because I scroll on TikTok, I like watching like informational videos or just like people explaining their situations, like story time stuff like that. So I think if there was a person doing that, that would be a big connector to social media for kids.
Yeah, maybe we could explore adding a second Instagram page or a TikTok page, under our current Safe and Hunterdon, and try to just reach, more people to come forward, and definitely something that Teen Task Force can work on to make materialize.
Yeah, if we were able to get a good group of Teen Task Force, I think that that would be a good project like for us to do, because that is what we're like. That is a good. That's what the Teen Task Force is for, like to get that information out there, because we're a part of it. We're a part of the society that's dealing with this, and I think we would be able to make a good connection with the other kids that are dealing with it.
Thank you. And as an educator, someone that's an administrator at a school level, are there things that you think that other more traditional schools could be doing better to make sure that kids are getting the supports that they need?
I honestly don't have a view of what's actually happening right now. I love knowing that Gillian's coming into the schools, because and I know they have can't remember what it's called, test or some 4-letter acronym for what their education, sexuality education program is, which I've heard has been a huge improvement over past, but I don't have any firsthand knowledge. As an educator, I was thinking, as you were just talking, Maria, about the idea of social media specifically speaking to the teens. And so my brain automatically starts thinking, all right, how would that look? Well, first of all, like you said, generated in the tone of your target audience, but also just a combination of education, right, and information about the resources, but also speaking to like someone who's been in that experience, like how they're feeling, and really connecting with, the words you threw out, like grossness and shame, and like
it needs to be connected with a real world experience, like how we can actually use it currently when something is happening, because in that moment, like it's such a big overcoming feeling, you don't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. So connecting with that, and also providing meaningful information about what to do in the moment. Obviously, on the prevention side of it is even better, but it's
Fantastic. Well, and we do share studio time with some other podcasters. So I think perhaps we could put a pin in this conversation and continue it in our next episode, because I think that there's a tremendous amount to to bring forward and discuss. Does anybody have any closing remarks or anything last minute that they would like to add?
Well, something that you might edit out. I didn't know if it would be good to say the name of the program, so I'll just tell you. So the program that I've facilitated and trained in and have facilitated is called Our Whole Lives, OWL for short, and it was developed many, many years ago by, I believe it was the Unitarian Universalist Church, and also the United Church of Christ.
Okay.
Hopefully I have that part of it right. And it trains adults to facilitate these programs, and they're everything from toddler to seniors. And there's different, slices that help people just deal with things that are appropriate to being a human, those different ages, and having healthy, and it's very values based, which is great. And it does a lot of the, that work of thinking through like ahead of time what you want for yourself.
Yeah.
So I would encourage reaching out, searching up that information.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else? All right. I look forward to the second part of this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.